You've experienced the Spider-Verse and the multiverse, but have you ever seen anything like the PANDERVERSE? That's what Matt Stone and Trey Parker will do for you in the newest South Park special, South Park, joining the PANDERVERSE. The adult animation hit, South Park, has been around for more than 25 years, and throughout that time, it has continued to be both beloved and controversial. Originally a VHS tape movie documenting the exploits of four friends in Colorado, it has developed into one of the longest-running animated series ever. No subject or person is immune to South Park's unreserved satire. The five-time Emmy-winning comedy isn't hesitant to take on contemporary issues and pertinent social issues that other programs of a comparable caliber would deem too controversial. The most recent episode of the television series, South Park, joining the PANDERVERSE, maintained this trend by focusing on a variety of topics, including Disney's practice of catering to its audience, the sluggishness of multiverses in films, the dangers of artificial intelligence, and the diminishing value of a college education. The venerable series has produced a number of similar specials in recent years, including subjects like COVID and even the show's involvement in a legal dispute between streaming services. However, joining the PANDERVERSE seemed to garner the greatest attention prior to its publication, since it dared to expose the absurdity of mindlessly changing the racial and gender identities of characters in order to appease audiences. Here's a recap of some of the main subjects the show touched on. Be aware that this video contains spoilers. Cartman is experiencing nightmares in which all of the people he knows are going to be replaced with women of different races, those who make it a habit to discuss the negative aspects of patriarchy all the time. When he switches places with a black female version of himself from a different universe, his nightmares come true. Because there were two goals behind this entire narrative. The first was to criticize the clumsiness of the many multiverse tales that Hollywood produces these days. The second was to once more criticize the senselessness and indolence of changing the racial and gender roles of characters. The PANDERVERSE was eventually discovered to have been conceived by Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. By just changing the genders and races of the characters, she was able to make movies that would appeal to a wide audience by employing a tool known as the Panderstone. This unintentionally results in Kennedy and Cartman, the counterpart of Kennedy from the parallel universe, switching places. This version of herself demands that everything be changed and exhorts everyone to put a chick in it and make her gay, in an attempt to alter everything about this universe. Kennedy gives Cartman an explanation of her reasoning for this toward the end of the special. I felt that the show kind of fell flat in this particular occasion. Kennedy claims that she began catering to crowds in an effort to address the sexism and bigotry she witnessed in the world. She claimed that this was a response to the hate mail she got for changing the racial and gender identities of characters. Cartman is sarcastically credited with hate letters. The show made the case that the current pandering trend is a feedback cycle, one in which the changing of a character's color or gender is criticized to the point where Hollywood feels compelled to respond with greater vigor. And so it goes eternally. Well, for there to be criticism, there had to be a first incident of this kind of pandering. It's a case of chicken or egg. It was only after the pandering that criticism could be leveled at it. Therefore, it couldn't have begun as a response to criticism. It has to begin as an effort to further progressive ideals or as a money grab. Decide what to do. The show assigns culpability to those on both sides of the dispute, those who support it and those who detest it. Although I understand the argument, it doesn't seem to have much merit. It wasn't just about caving up to Hollywood's demands. The program also discussed how people's talents are atrophying due to technology and how, as AI advances, college degrees will become less and less valuable. They don't produce college-educated people like they used to, as we've seen recently, and South Park was more than glad to poke fun at this. In the B story, Randy Marsh is attempting to mend an oven door. He asks a handyman to fix it because he is too dependent on technology and studied geology for 8 years in college. But the reason handymen are so in demand is that nobody can fix anything. As a result, they amass enormous wealth, while college graduates, lacking any real abilities, wind up hunting for employment elsewhere. Of the two primary stories, I found this one to be funnier and with a more biting societal critique. The notion behind pander casting is that only those with the ability to make things better would be able to make money in the future, even though most people can agree on how stupid it is. Even if it wasn't the best episode of the show, it was a good example of a show that was willing to address topics that most other shows would be too afraid to even bring up.